Hello, welcome Extendership family. Today I want to talk to all of my fathers out there. Fathers, are you a great provider but not a good leader for your family? Let's dive in and find out more. I recently was studying the book of Ruth, and I was learning a little bit more because being named Ruth, of course, I wanted to learn about the book and more about who she was. And also, my cousin is named Naomi, so there's a very big connection between Ruth and Naomi in the Bible. And I was studying it, and I also was listening to New Life Church, and I was hearing about their 7-part series about Ruth and wanted to learn more. And what the pastor was teaching was about Moab and about how at the time, whenever Elimilek brought his family to Moab, he was explaining a little bit more about the city. So you may or you may not remember the story about Sodom and Gomorrah. Sodom and Gomorrah is the city that was one of the most wicked at the time. It was so wicked, so perverse, so evil that Jesus sent 2 of his angels to destroy it. But because of the fact that Lot and his family, now Lot is the son of Abraham. So because Lot was there with his family, God first told the angels, get Lot, get all of his family, rescue them, take them out of the city, and then destroy it, destroy the city. So the angels came to Lot and they said, Lot, who do you have here? Who do you need to get out of the city because we're about to burn this city down? And so Lot got his family, he got his daughters. Now his son-in-laws, they didn't believe him. They thought, this is ridiculous. Who's going to destroy the city? So they stayed. They stayed and they died, unfortunately, because they did not believe the word that Lot had given them. But Lot took his daughters, he took his wife. The angels gave very specific instructions, and they said, when you leave, do not look back. Do not look back at what is going to happen to the city. And if you read the story in Genesis, you learn that Lot's wife turned around. She looked behind her to see what was happening. She turned into a pillar of salt. So Lot and his 2 daughters were the ones who got out of Sodom and Gomorrah before it was destroyed. Now, the interesting thing that goes, the next part of this story, is the Bible, and this is why I like to tell everybody, there are no perfect people. There is a lot of imperfection. There is a lot of perverse, twisted, very crazy things that happen in the Bible, all with our spiritual heroes. Our spiritual heroes made mistakes just like we do. We all make mistakes. Nobody is infallible. We are all sinful. So what happened is Lot's 2 daughters felt pressure. They felt, okay, well, we're not around men anymore. We're living in this mountain. We're hiding away in a cave, away from people. So how are we supposed to get pregnant? How are we supposed to have sons? And so the oldest daughter came up with the idea and said, hey, sister, I have an idea. Here's what I think we should do. I think we should get our dad drunk, and then first I will go to him. I will have sex with him so that he can get me pregnant with a son. And then you can do it the next night. And his sister, or her sister, agreed and said, okay, let's do it. Let's do your idea. And that's what happened. This is, again, you can find this in the book of Genesis. I'm not making any of this up. All of this is very real. It's very scriptural. You can find it in the Bible. Imperfect people who made crazy decisions, and all kinds of things that happened in the Bible. So what happened was, Lot's daughters took their turn one night, got him drunk, had sex with him, got impregnated. The next daughter did the next night. So the oldest daughter of Lot, she named her son Moab. Moab. This is where the city was built upon from the descendants of her son Moab is where the city Moab had become established through his line. So it began in an incestuous way. There was a lot of wickedness. Now, again, it was not to the same level as Sodom and Gomorrah, because God did not destroy Moab the way that he did Sodom or any other town since then, but it was still very wicked, very perverse. They were a godless people. They did not believe in God. They did not worship the Lord. They had their own gods. They did child sacrifices. They did all kinds of things. Again, scripture. It's all scripture. You can find it in the book. Open the book. It's like that Reading Rainbow song. Open a book and you will find there is so much in the Bible. It's better than any Game of Thrones, anything out there. The Bible is the most incredible book that you will ever read. So Moab, very, very pagan city. It was very godless. And what was happening in the book of Ruth? Now we are going to look at Ruth chapter 1, and we're going to start with the very beginning of the story. Ruth 1, chapter 1. In the days when the judges ruled, there was a famine in the land. So a man from Bethlehem in Judah, together with his wife and 2 sons, went to live for a while in the country of Moab. The man's name was Elimilek. His wife's name was Naomi, and the names of his 2 sons were Mahlon and Chilion. They were Ephrathites from Bethlehem, Judah, and they went to Moab and lived there. So we know that Elimilek was trying to escape a famine from Bethlehem in Judah. And so he took his family to this sinful, this pagan, this godless country called Moab. He took them from a place where they were surrounded by fellow believers. They were surrounded by others who had the same morals, the same values, the same beliefs. And he removed them from that and placed them into a situation that was the complete opposite, because the people of Judah, the people of Moab, they hated each other in extremes. But he did this as a way to try to escape death, because there was a famine. So he was trying to prevent them from starvation, from not having enough food to provide for his family. Now, what's interesting is what happens next in the story. So we know that Elimilek, he had good intentions. He was trying to be a good provider for his family. It's like if you lived in a town and it's just completely going bust in this town. There's no jobs there. Things are, businesses are shutting up. And it just looks like this is not the place where my family needs to be. I need to take them somewhere else where I can provide a better living for my family. And that's what Elimilek was thinking. He was just thinking, financially, I need to be a good provider. And where I'm at right now, I can't provide. So he took them to Moab. Now let's move to Ruth chapter 1. We're now going to read verse number 3. Now Elimilek, Naomi's husband, died, and she was left with her 2 sons. They married Moabite women, one named Orpah and the other Ruth. After they lived there about 10 years, both Mahlon and Chilion also died, and Naomi was left without her 2 sons and her husband. Poor Naomi, right? Like here, Naomi first loses her husband. She's already been removed from the town where she grew up in, where all her family exists, where her whole safety net is. She's been brought into a place that rejects everything that she believes in, that does not have any of her same values, that they're enemies. They're enemies. But because her husband brought her here, She remains there. He dies, but she continues to raise her sons there. So she made the choice, I'm going to stay. I'm going to raise my sons, her sons, because this is what they've known for the majority of their lives. They decide it's a decade. It's a decade. They find wives. They marry. Now, they do not have children with their wives. So Orpah and Ruth are the two daughter-in-laws. Now, you have to just take a moment to imagine, what all could Naomi be feeling at this time? She's grieving from the loss of, okay, my husband's gone. But she had her two sons and she had her daughter-in-law. So she had hope. She still had hope at this point because she could have had grandchildren from her sons and daughter-in-laws. That's not what happened, but she had hope. When both of her sons died, she lost her hope. She lost her hope because she felt like, my husband's been taken from me. My sons have now been taken from me. I have nothing left. I have no more than what I had. It's all gone. Everything is gone now. So in a decision that her husband, Elimilek, had made, thinking, I'm going to protect my family. I'm going to move them out of this place where we're experiencing a famine into another place, even though it's godless, even though I'm removing them from everything they've ever known. I'm removing them from their village, from their family, from their safety net. There's provision there. He's running away from death. And instead of running away from it, he runs into it. He runs directly into it. And not only does he die, his sons die childless. So let's move on to Ruth. Again, we're going to look at verse number 6. When Naomi heard in Moab that the Lord had come to the aid of his people by providing food for them, she and her daughter-in-laws prepared to return home from there. With her two daughter-in-laws, she left the place where she had been living and set out on the road that would take them back to the land of Judah. What I find interesting here, that Naomi finally makes the decision, I'm going to go back home. I'm going to go back home to Judah. She didn't do it after her husband had died. She didn't say, I'm going to take my sons, we're going to go back. She waited until it was all gone and it was just her and her daughters, her daughter-in-laws. That's when she made the decision, okay, I'm going to go back, because she said that it says in chapter 6 that Naomi heard in Moab, the Lord had come to the aid of his people by providing food for them. So the story is going to continue, but we will continue on another video, but I really want to focus on Elimilek. I want to focus on the decisions that he made for his family and how it impacted his family and how it impacts you as a father, as a provider, and as a leader for your family.